Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to my channel. I am the Snatchless here on YouTube. My friends call me Elle. How's it going? So if you're new here, this is a new segment I started this month. This is the first installment of it, just to kind of help people see what being in a sorority is like and kind of trying to break the stigma. So I go to Fairleigh Dickinson University Metro Campus. It's a very small private college in North Jersey. So Greek life there looks very different than Greek life at like a Big Ten school. We only have 2 NPC organizations. I am in one of them, and it's very different for everywhere that you go. So I know people that are in schools that are slightly bigger than mine, where their chapter is like 50 to 80 people. I know people that are in chapters that have like 200, 300 sisters, and I just kind of wanted to sit down and any freshmen that are considering going through the recruitment process this spring, I wanted to kind of give you some tips and talk about different things in this video series on Sorority Sunday for the month of January. And then in the month of February, I'm going to be showing you kind of the behind the scenes of what I'm doing as a recruitment chair and just, you know, what it's like to be on the other side of recruitment. Is the main thing that I want to show, and I might have some more sorority videos throughout this coming semester as well. I'm a junior. We have a very small chapter at my school. Our campus cap, I believe, is 30, so like everyone is rather small. We don't have a ton of people in Greek life. We also don't have a ton of people on our campus, so recruitment season is always a little bit more stressful when you're at a small school and you have less people to choose from. But today I'm going to be talking to you guys about what really matters during recruitment. This is strictly for like NPC orgs and the people that I know that are in NPC orgs. I don't know the exact processes for multicultural, D9, Latinx, like those organizations. I don't know exactly how they do their recruitment. I've been to informationals for some of them at my school, but like I said, I was on the other side, so I don't really know how that works for them, but this is what it looks like for NPC, whether you are at a small university that has 1, 2, 3 orgs that have like 20 girls each, or whether you're at a big university that has 20 orgs that have 300 girls each. So these are the things that will help you get over kind of that anxiety about recruitment and what really matters and kind of make yourself stand out so that you can find your home, because that is the most important thing about Greek life, whether you go for an NPC org, whether you're going to join a frat and you're going into an IFC org, or a multicultural, Divine 9, any of the Latina orgs or Latino orgs. It's just important that you find where you belong and you go Greek. That's like the biggest thing that we always say is no matter the letters, go Greek. So starting off, I just want to talk about some stereotypes that are absolutely not true for the recruitment process. Yes, sometimes we like see what the girls' Instagrams look like, especially now with virtual recruitment. It's like hard. I know bigger schools do a lot of that where they like kind of check up on people when they sign up for recruitment, because a lot of bigger schools have formal sign-ups. We do not. You can sign up to get emails from us, but that's about it. Like, you don't actually sign up to go through recruitment, you just show up to the events. So it's not true that like we only want tall, blonde, skinny girls. Whenever I went through the recruitment process, I had blue hair. So if that doesn't tell you anything, I'm not sure what does, but that's not what it's like. We have a very rather diverse chapter in body types, what we look like, our ethnicities, that sort of thing. So it's definitely not what you would think it is because of movies and that sort of thing, and I just wanted to address that first. So if you are considering going out for recruitment and you're like, oh, well, like, maybe I'm not pretty enough, maybe I'm not, don't think any of that about yourself. Don't have that negative self-talk, because as long as you make connections with the people that you're talking to in recruitment, that's what really matters. So first impressions that I want to talk about. And I will talk about this a little bit in next week's video where I talk about recruitment outfits. I'm actually going to be talking to some of my friends that go to bigger schools to see what they do, because our dress is usually like you just want to look nice, like business casual kind of attire. So first impressions at a small school and a big school are huge. In a big school, if you don't make a good first impression, like if you don't, you know, try to talk to the girl about things and try to push that conversation forward, because it's going to be awkward at first whenever you're first meeting these people, you might not get asked back to that house with how they do their mutual selection process. Now, at a smaller school, like where I'm at, first impressions are also very important, because the girls that you're talking to are probably going to be the girls that you're in the sorority with for like 2-3 years, depending on how old they are. Right now, we have like an older chapter. We don't have very many young people, so like a lot of people will be graduating after this year. But the people you're talking to are the people that are going to be your sisters in any chapter. But when you're at a smaller school, it's a much more tight-knit organization. So everyone knows everyone talks to pretty much everyone on some sort of basis, whether it's you go on sister dates with these people, you know, whatever it may be, you hang out with them all the time because they're your friends. One of them might become your big, like there's all kinds of things that matter in a first impression. So just make sure that you try to calm yourself down and you're not super nervous whenever you go into it, because chances are the girls who are just as nervous as you are, because we just want you to love our organization. But just try to, you know, don't talk about boys or parties or anything like that. Just kind of talk about, you know, like what you're involved in on campus and what you were involved in high school, and like maybe you can talk about your family. You can talk about, oh, my aunt was in this sorority, whatever. Just have a conversation that kind of lets them know a little bit more about who you are. And you know, you're going to, especially at bigger schools, get a lot of that what's your name, major, year, whatever. Whenever you join like recruitment at a smaller school, usually we do an icebreaker at the beginning of the event and we just go around the room and everyone says that stuff. So it isn't like as much of that repeating, but it is still important to try and have those meaningful conversations even from the very start of recruitment. Something that we look for, and this is more applicable for big schools for continuous open bidding, COB, but for smaller schools, like mine, where like we don't have the round system where like you get eliminated, you just come to the events and then we decide based on our criteria for our organization if you're going to get a bid or not. So we like to see you coming out to our events. So like last semester, our college, like my university, didn't do any intake for any organizations. No one was allowed to have a new member class. So there were still people, like we were still all holding events, and there were still people coming out to those events and getting to know us and who we are as people. Seeing that dedication is really important, and this is also very similar for whenever they do continuous open bidding at other schools. Because if you are coming out to all their events, you're more likely to get invited to like the invite-only events, and then they'll see the dedication that you have. Dedication is a huge thing. We want to know that you're going to show up for our sisterhood events. We want to know that you're going to be on time for chapter. Those kinds of things are very important and always will be very important, just because it's how we make the organization run as smoothly as possible. Now, I want to talk about the types of conversations that you can have. So in bigger schools, you guys have like specific rounds, and like we do at smaller schools too, but it's not like as necessarily like defined, like, oh, you wear this t-shirt for philanthropy round, like that kind of thing. So during philanthropy round, don't be afraid to ask questions in the conversation about their philanthropy. Like, oh, what's an event that you guys do that's your favorite for your philanthropy? You know, I would be happy to talk to you about Slimatol, which is my favorite philanthropy event for us. That's something that you can ask about and be like, oh, like, how do you raise money for it? Oh, do you guys do a lot of co-sponsorships for philanthropies for other organizations? Things that show that you're genuinely interested in learning about their organization, how they run, and things that they do, as far as that goes. For sisterhood, you can talk about, you know, ask them, like, what their favorite sisterhood that they've done is. You know, there's like sisterhood activities for things. We have done like just a number of different things where we like did a photo scavenger hunt, we do movie nights, all kinds of things like that. Just talk to them about that, ask them like, you know, whenever you like were going through recruitment, like what stood out to you about the sisterhood of this organization. Things like that are not bad to ask because it gets you the inside opinion of like what's happening with the organization on the inside, but also don't just ask questions, like also try and answer as much as you can that they're asking you. So if they're like, oh, like of our values, like what really stands out to you, you know, you make sure you're paying attention to those kinds of things because values conversations are also very important when it comes to Greek life. You want to make sure that you're really just meshing well with the chapter that you're going to be eventually hopefully joining. Stand out in a good way. It is never a bad thing to stand out in recruitment as long as it is positively. So, you know, if you have a really great conversation with a girl and you find out like, oh, your dads both went to the same college in like the same time frame, that's something that's going to make you stand out. That kind of stuff you can't do on purpose, but never be afraid to like bring up something that like is kind of like random. Like, don't be afraid to talk about your family and like where you're from and those kinds of things, just because that gives us more information about you for one, and two, you know, if you talk about the fact that your dad is an airplane pilot, like we're going to remember those things and it's going to make you stand out, and we're going to be like, oh, like this girl grew up in blah 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 and her dad's an airplane pilot and she's always wanted to get her flight license. Like that's something that's really cool and different that will make us remember who you are, and we can identify you with those factors. I know that's a big thing that my friends that are at larger schools say is whenever you're recruiting people, you have to like take notes afterwards because so many people just mesh together because there's nothing like fantastic from the conversation that stands out. So that is definitely something that you want to try and make sure you do, especially if you go to a bigger school, is have a meaningful conversation about something, and that way you can stand out about it. The last one before I get into like just the main focuses for recruitment, be yourself. Just be yourself. You know, I walked into recruitment, blue hair, just talking about my career aspirations and, you know, the fact that I was in theater and a student director in high school, my summer job, like all these different things. Talk to them about things that will show them who you are. Don't be afraid to be like, oh yeah, I was the captain of my soccer team in school and I led us to the state championship. Like that's something that's really cool that we want to know about you because it shows that you have leadership potential for one, which is a big deal in organizations, is having people that want to fulfill those leadership positions. And also, especially on smaller campuses where like you need to have those positions filled, and also just like so we can get to know you and find out who you are and see if you're going to mesh well with the people in our organization, because that's a big deal, is finding your home and the people that you mesh well with. So my major takeaways for this is focus on values and philanthropy whenever you're looking at organizations. Don't focus on who has the most aesthetic recruitment video. I know like with online recruitment, it's kind of hard for like the big schools that are doing first rounds where you just watch videos. Don't base it strictly off of aesthetics. Don't just Instagram stalk their pages and be like, oh, these are the houses I want to join. Really get to know the women that you talk to and the values and philanthropies of the organizations, because those are two things that are always going to be very meaningful to you. And then the third thing that is really important is focus on the conversations that you have with the sisters and try to imagine yourself talking to them more about just like your daily life. Like, would you be able to do that? Would you mesh well enough with these people to be able to have casual conversations about what's going on in your life? So those are my tips for what really matters during recruitment. I hope this was helpful. Don't be afraid to just be yourself and really just let the conversations happen. I know there's a ton of recruitment videos all across this platform, but these are the things that really are going to help you find where you belong. I can truly say that, you know, I had went to informationals for a few different sororities on my campus, some that both NPC orgs and then some other orgs as well. And I can honestly say that I ended up where I like needed to be. I ended up where I belonged, and that's like the most important thing, is finding the people that you mesh with and the people that you're going to call sisters for not just 4 years but the rest of your life. So yeah, that is the end of this first installment of Sorority Sunday. So if you guys did like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next one.